Commander Allison Wright stood at the observation deck of Earth Space Station Delta, her hands clenched into fists as she watched the live feed. There was nothing she could do. Proxima Centauri b, the first successful human colony outside the solar system, was burning. The alien ships of the hegemony hovered above the colony like vultures. Their weapons fired again and again, blue-green beams cutting through buildings, farms, and people. Her people. Allison's breath fogged the glass as she leaned closer, searching desperately for any sign of resistance, any hope. "Commander Wright," a voice called from behind her. "I'm sorry to interrupt, but you have an urgent message." She didn't turn around. "Not now, Jones. It's about your brother, ma'am." Tim was on Proxima. Allison closed her eyes. Tim had taken a teaching position at the colony 3 years ago. He loved it there, away from Earth's crowded cities, teaching science to the colonists' children. She had planned to visit next month for his birthday. "Thank you, Jones." Dismissed. When she was alone again, Allison finally let herself cry. Quietly, just for a moment. Then she wiped her eyes and straightened her uniform. This wasn't the first time the hegemony had attacked humanity, but something felt different. Something inside her had shifted, hardened. Across the solar system, Dr. Nathan Garcia wasn't watching the attack. He was too busy staring at his computer screen in confusion. The readings from his quantum field detector made no sense. He had been studying quantum fields for 20 years, looking for ways to improve faster-than-light communications, but he had never seen patterns like these. Dr. Garcia, his assistant, Olivia, entered the lab carrying 2 cups of coffee. "You've been here all night. Did you make a breakthrough?" Nathan ran a hand through his gray-streaked hair. "I don't know what I found, but look at this." He pointed to the screen where waves of data formed strange, almost symmetrical patterns. "The quantum field is changing somehow." These readings started about 3 hours ago, right around the time. "The attack on Proxima," Olivia finished, setting down the coffee. Her face was pale. "Everyone knew about the attack by now." "Yes, but I don't see how they could be related." Nathan adjusted his glasses and typed rapidly. "Unless, what if extreme emotional states somehow affect quantum fields? What if human consciousness can interact with quantum reality in ways we never imagined?" Olivia looked skeptical. "That sounds like science fiction, Doctor." 20 years ago, so did the hegemony. Nathan pulled up another screen of data. "We need more readings. Can you access the satellite network?" While Nathan and Olivia worked, news of the Proxima attack spread across Earth. Protests formed outside the hegemony embassy in Geneva. World leaders held emergency meetings. Military forces went on high alert. The official statement from the hegemony arrived 6 hours after the attack began. Their ambassador, a tall, insect-like being named Crix, delivered it with the cold precision his species was known for. The cleansing of the Proxima settlement was a necessary action to maintain galactic stability, Crix said, his mandibles clicking between words. Humanity's rapid expansion presents an unacceptable risk to established civilizations. The Hegemony Council has determined that humans must be contained to their home system until they have demonstrated sufficient evolutionary maturity. President Laura Chen of the United Earth Government listened to the message, her face showing nothing. When it ended, she turned to her advisors. "How many dead?" she asked quietly. "Initial estimates suggest nearly 15,000 colonists, Madam President." There were no survivors. The president nodded slowly. "Contact Commander Wright at Delta Station. Tell her I want her on Earth immediately, and get me everything we have on Dr. Garcia's quantum research project." She looked out the window at the Washington Monument, gleaming in the morning sun. "It's time we stopped playing by their rules." In the darkness of space, as hegemony ships moved away from the ruins of Proxima, no one noticed the subtle shimmer in the fabric of reality, like a ripple spreading outward from Earth, carrying with it the first stirrings of a power the universe had never seen before. Dr. Nathan Garcia hadn't slept in 3 days. The lab around him was a mess of coffee cups, scattered papers, and humming machines. The quantum field readings continued to show strange patterns, growing stronger each hour. "You need to see this," said Olivia, pointing to her screen. "I mapped the strongest quantum disturbances against population centers." Nathan leaned over her shoulder. The map showed bright spots all over Earth, each one matching a major city or military base. The brightest spot was over Geneva, where protests against the hegemony had turned violent yesterday. "It's us," Nathan whispered. "Humans are causing these disturbances." Before Olivia could respond, the lab door opened. A group of serious-looking people in military uniforms entered, led by a tired woman with short brown hair. "Dr. Garcia, I'm Commander Allison Wright. The President sent me." Nathan shook her hand. "Commander, you're just in time. We've made a discovery that could change everything." Across the solar system, Captain Ryan Mitchell floated in the silence of space. His fighter ship drifted among the wreckage of what had been Patrol Squadron 7. His friends, his family for the past 5 years. The hegemony ambush had been quick and merciless. The alien ships appeared from nowhere, ignored all attempts at communication, and opened fire. Now Ryan was the only survivor, his life support failing, his distress beacon sending signals that might never be answered. As he watched his oxygen level drop, Ryan felt a strange calm mixed with burning anger. This wasn't how it was supposed to end. Humans had reached for the stars with hope and wonder, only to find cruel masters waiting for them. "No," Ryan said aloud, his voice filling his helmet. "This isn't right. This isn't fair." Something shifted inside his mind, like a door opening. Ryan felt a strange energy flow through him, connecting him to everything around him. The stars, the debris, even the distant planets. For a brief moment, he could sense the hegemony ships moving away, and he wished with all his heart that they would just disappear. And then they did. Back on Earth, Nathan explained his theory to Allison, showing her brain scans and quantum field data. "The human brain has a unique structure," he said, pointing to a holographic image. "This part here, we always thought it was just unused potential from evolution. But what if it's actually an interface to quantum reality?" Allison frowned. "You're saying humans can control quantum fields, like some kind of superpower?" "Not exactly. But in moments of extreme emotion, especially collective emotion like what happened after Proxima, the barrier between mind and quantum field might grow thin. And that could allow for..." He paused, searching for simple words. "Allow for what?" Allison asked. "Reality manipulation, at least in small ways. The universe is made of quantum particles. If we can influence those particles, we could potentially change reality itself." Olivia rushed into the room, her face pale. "Doctor, we just received a transmission from Mars Station. They picked up a distress signal from Captain Ryan Mitchell of Squadron 7. But then..." She handed him a tablet. Nathan read it, his eyes growing wide. "This can't be right. They're saying the hegemony attack force just vanished. Completely disappeared while moving away from the ambush site." Allison took the tablet. "And Mitchell. They picked him up an hour ago. He's unconscious but alive," Olivia said. "And they're saying he was surrounded by some kind of energy field they've never seen before." Nathan and Allison looked at each other. "I need to see him," Nathan said quietly. 3 days later, President Chen stood in a secret underground facility as Nathan explained what they had learned from Captain Mitchell. The pilot had no memory of what happened, but the data was clear. Somehow, in his moment of greatest despair and anger, Ryan Mitchell had altered reality. "Can others do this?" the president asked. "Theoretically, all humans have the potential," Nathan replied. "We just need to figure out how to unlock it." The president nodded slowly. "Then that's what we'll do. Commander Wright, you'll oversee the security for this project. Dr. Garcia, you have unlimited resources. This is now our top priority." She looked at the observation window where Captain Mitchell slept, monitored by dozens of sensors. The hegemony thinks we're weak, easy to control. It's time they learned what humans are truly capable of. In the darkness of Mitchell's room, the air shimmered slightly around his sleeping form, as if reality itself was responding to his dreams. The underground facility grew larger every week. What had started as a small research lab was now a sprawling complex with training rooms, living quarters, and medical centers. They called it Project Awakening. Allison Wright walked through the main training area, watching as 30 soldiers attempted to move small objects with their minds. Most failed. A few made their targets shake slightly. One young woman, Lieutenant Zoe Campbell, had already progressed to lifting her metal cube 3 feet off the table. "She's our star pupil," said Dr. Garcia, falling into step beside Allison. Her ability manifested almost immediately. Allison nodded. "What about Mitchell?" "Still inconsistent. He can do amazing things when emotional, but has trouble accessing the ability when calm." Nathan rubbed his tired eyes. "We're learning, though. The quantum field responds to intense focus combined with emotional states." They stopped at a window overlooking a larger training room. Inside, Ryan Mitchell stood facing a target dummy. His face showed intense concentration as a shimmer appeared around his hands. "Watch," Nathan said. Ryan thrust his hands forward. A wave of energy shot out, hitting the dummy and transforming it into a cloud of butterflies that fluttered around the room before fading away. "That's new," Allison said, her eyes wide. Nathan checked his tablet. "The quantum field readings are off the charts. He's not just affecting matter, he's temporarily redefining what matter is." He looked troubled. "The problem is, we're seeing strange aftereffects. Small distortions in reality that linger after each use." Before Allison could ask more questions, an alarm sounded. They hurried to the command center where screens showed a hegemony ship approaching Earth's moon. "They say they're here for diplomatic talks," said the communications officer. "But they're armed and their shields are up." President Chen's face appeared on the main screen. "Commander Wright, Dr. Garcia, I've authorized a test of Project Awakening. The hegemony is demanding we surrender our Mars colony by the end of the month. I want to show them why that would be a mistake." Allison felt her heart race. "Madam President, we're still in the early stages. We don't fully understand." "We understand enough." The president interrupted. "Select your 3 best subjects. You leave in 1 hour." The small stealth ship carried Allison, Ryan, Zoe, and a quiet soldier named Jeff Porter. Each had shown strong abilities in training, though in different ways. Ryan could transform matter. Zoe could move objects and create energy shields. Jeff could somehow slow down time in small areas. As they approached the moon, Allison felt doubt creep in. "Remember your training," she told the others. "Small, controlled effects only. We're here to demonstrate, not destroy." The hegemony ship hung in space above the lunar surface, much larger than their small vessel. Ambassador Crix's voice came through the communication system. "Humans, your response to our generous offer is to send a tiny ship. Your defiance grows tiresome." Allison looked at her team and nodded. "Now." Zoe went first, extending her hands. A shimmer appeared around the hegemony ship, a containment field that would prevent it from firing weapons or moving. Then Jeff concentrated, creating a time dilation field that would make everything seem to happen in slow motion for those on board the alien vessel. Finally, Ryan focused on the ship's outer hull, transforming its color from gray to pink with yellow polka dots. A small demonstration of what he could do to their entire ship if he chose. On the communication screen, Ambassador Crix's insect-like face showed confusion and the first hints of fear. "What is this?" he demanded, mandibles clicking rapidly. "What are you doing?" Allison smiled coldly. "Showing you what humanity is capable of, Ambassador. The hegemony has pushed us too far. We've had enough of being treated like children or pests." She leaned closer to the screen. "We're giving you one chance to leave our system peacefully and never return. Otherwise, next time we won't just change your ship's color. We might decide to change its basic atomic structure instead." Behind her, the three humans maintained their focus, though Nathan's warnings echoed in Allison's mind. Each use of these abilities came with a cost. Small tears in reality that might grow larger over time. But as she watched fear replace arrogance in the alien ambassador's eyes, Allison decided that some prices were worth paying. Dr. Nathan Garcia stared at his screen, his face pale in the blue light. The data didn't lie, but he wished it did. Each use of the quantum abilities left tiny tears in reality, microscopic holes that shouldn't exist. And they were growing. Dr. Garcia, President Chen, had arrived for her weekly briefing. She looked at his troubled face. "What's wrong?" Nathan pulled up a three-dimensional model of Earth and the surrounding space. Tiny red dots appeared throughout the model, clustered around areas where abilities had been used. "These are quantum fractures," he explained. "Every time our people use their abilities, they damage the fabric of reality a little. Small tears that are starting to connect with each other." The president leaned closer. "How dangerous is this?" Nathan hesitated. "Imagine reality as a piece of cloth. We're putting small cuts in it. 1 or 2 cuts don't matter much, but hundreds, thousands. Eventually, the cloth tears apart." President Chen straightened up. "And if that happens?" "I don't know exactly. Perhaps nothing in the affected area would follow the normal laws of physics anymore, or perhaps everything would simply end." The silence in the room felt heavy. Finally, the president spoke. "Can we stop using the abilities? Shut down Project Awakening?" Before Nathan could answer, a loud alarm sounded. The emergency communication system activated, showing Commander Wright's face. "Madam President," Allison said, her voice tight with urgency, "the hegemony has attacked our moon base. They didn't even send a warning." The president's face hardened. "Casualties. Hundreds, Mom. And they're not stopping. Our conventional weapons barely scratched their ships." President Chen looked at Nathan, then back at the screen. "Deploy the quantum response team immediately. Full authorization to use all abilities." After the call ended, she turned to Nathan. "We have no choice, Doctor. The hegemony has made their decision. Now we make ours." Nathan nodded slowly. "I understand, but I should join them. I might be able to minimize the damage to reality if I'm there to monitor the quantum fields." On the moon, chaos reigned. 3 hegemony warships hovered over the shattered dome of Moon Base Alpha, their weapons still firing at the few structures left standing. Survivors huddled in emergency shelters, waiting for death or rescue. The small transport carrying the quantum response team landed a mile away. Allison led her team out, now 8 strong, with Nathan following behind with monitoring equipment. "Remember your training," she told them. "Work together. Focus your abilities." Ryan stepped forward, looking at the destruction around them. His sister had worked at this base. "Are there any survivors?" he asked, his voice tight. Allison checked her tablet. "Emergency bunkers are holding, but oxygen is limited. We need to end this fast." Zoe Campbell moved to Ryan's side. In the weeks of training, they had learned that abilities grew stronger when users worked in pairs or groups. "Together?" she asked. Ryan nodded. They joined hands, and the air around them began to shimmer. The other pairs formed around them. Jeff and a woman named Kate, 2 brothers named Alan and Steve, and Allison herself partnered with a quiet man named Ben. Only Nathan stood apart, watching his instruments with growing concern. As one, the quantum response team reached out with their minds. They felt the hegemony ships, the weapons, the alien minds inside filled with cold contempt for humanity. Zoe and Ryan focused on the first ship, willing its weapons to transform from devices of destruction to harmless mechanisms that would spray water instead of energy beams. Jeff and Kate created a time bubble around the second ship, slowing it to near immobility. The brothers concentrated on the third ship's engines, changing their atomic structure to become simple iron, unable to generate power. Allison and Ben created a protective shield around the remaining moon base structures, stronger than any physical material. Within minutes, the attack was over. The hegemony ships hung helpless in space. But Nathan's face showed no victory as he looked at his readings. The quantum fractures had doubled in size and number. The fabric of reality around the moon had grown dangerously thin. As the team celebrated their victory, Nathan pulled Allison aside. "We won today," he said quietly, "but at what cost to the universe itself?" The victory at the moon base changed everything. News spread quickly across Earth and its colonies. Humanity had fought back against the hegemony and won. People celebrated in the streets, suddenly hopeful after years of fear. But inside the secure meeting room at Project Awakening headquarters, the mood was tense. Satellite images showed a massive buildup of hegemony forces in the Kuiper Belt, beyond Neptune. They were preparing for a major assault. "We can't wait for them to attack again," said Allison, pointing to the images. "We need to strike first." President Chen looked troubled. "Dr. Garcia, what about the quantum fractures?" Nathan displayed his latest findings. "They're still growing, but more slowly than I feared. If we limit our use of abilities and focus them precisely, we might be able to minimize the damage." "Might?" the president asked. Nathan shrugged. "This is all new territory. No one has ever manipulated quantum reality like this before." After a long silence, President Chen nodded. "Very well. Commander Wright, prepare your team for an offensive mission. Target the hegemony forward base in the Kuiper Belt." 3 days later, a small stealth ship carried the quantum response team toward the edge of the solar system. The team had grown to 12 members now, each with unique abilities. Ryan and Zoe had become the strongest, able to alter the fundamental nature of matter itself. Nathan sat at the back of the ship, monitoring quantum fields. He noticed that Zoe often glanced his way, her young face concerned. "You're worried," she said, sitting beside him. "Terrified," Nathan admitted. "We're playing with forces we barely understand." Zoe looked down at her hands. "Sometimes I can see them." The tears were making, like tiny cracks in glass. She paused. "But what choice do we have? Let the hegemony destroy us." Nathan had no answer. The hegemony base came into view, a sprawling structure built into a large asteroid. Dozens of warships floated nearby, preparing for the assault on Earth. Allison gathered the team. "Remember the plan. Disable, don't destroy. We want to send a message, not start a war we can't finish." The team paired up as they had trained. Ryan and Zoe would target the base's weapon systems. Jeff and Kate would handle communications. The brothers would disable the fleet's engines. The other pairs each had specific targets. "Begin," Allison ordered. With their minds linked, the 12 humans reached out across space. The quantum field bent to their will, rippling outward like waves in a pond. Ryan and Zoe, convinced the base's weapons that they were now decorative lights, incapable of firing energy beams. Jeff and Kate altered the communication arrays, making them broadcast Earth music instead of military orders. The brothers reached into the ship's engines, telling the atoms to simply stop providing energy. Within minutes, the entire hegemony force was effectively neutralized, not destroyed, but rendered harmless. The aliens aboard could only watch in confusion as their technology betrayed them. Allison sent a message to the hegemony commander. "Consider this a warning. Leave the solar system, or next time, we won't be so gentle." The ride back to Earth was oddly quiet. Victory should have felt sweet, but everyone sensed the cost. Strange lights flickered in space around them. Stars seemed to blink in and out of existence. Near Mars, they passed through an area where gravity reversed briefly, sending objects floating upward. Nathan's instruments confirmed his fears. The quantum fractures had grown substantially, creating pockets where the laws of physics behaved unpredictably. When they landed on Earth, a crowd waited to cheer their heroes. President Chen greeted them personally, shaking each team member's hand before pulling Allison and Nathan aside. "The hegemony is calling for talks," she said quietly. "They're scared." "They should be," Allison replied. "We could end them if we wanted to. And maybe end ourselves in the process," Nathan added, showing them his data. "Each use of our abilities weakens the fabric of reality. If we keep pushing, we might tear it beyond repair." The president looked from the celebrating crowd to the data showing the damaged universe. "Then we need to end this quickly, before it's too late." Above them, the night sky flickered strangely, as if reality itself was struggling to hold its shape. The hegemony's response to humanity's show of force came 1 week later. It wasn't the peace talks President Chen had hoped for. Instead, their long-range sensors detected something massive moving toward Earth from beyond the solar system. "It's a planet killer," Nathan said, his voice hollow as he studied the readings. "A weapon designed to crack a planet's crust and destabilize its core." Allison stared at the screen showing the approaching threat. "How long do we have?" 3 days at most," Nathan replied. "Our conventional weapons can't stop something that size." The emergency meeting that followed was grim. Military leaders proposed nuclear strikes, knowing they would only slow the weapon down. Scientists suggested evacuating key personnel to Mars, though it would only delay the inevitable. The hegemony wouldn't stop until humanity was eliminated. Zoe Campbell spoke up from where she stood with the other quantum manipulators. "What if we use our abilities together? Not just in pairs, but all of us at once." Nathan shook his head. "The quantum fractures are already spreading. A massive use of abilities might tear reality apart completely." "But we don't need to destroy anything," Ryan argued. "What if we created something instead? A shield around Earth?" Nathan considered this. "A reality anchor," he said slowly. "If enough manipulators focused on the same goal, they might be able to create a stable quantum field around Earth, essentially making our planet immutable to external forces." "Would that cause the same damage to reality?" President Chen asked. "It's hard to say," Nathan admitted. "Creating is generally less destructive than destroying. But at this scale," he trailed off. "Do we have a choice?" Allison asked the silent room. No one answered. They all knew they didn't. 2 days later, 200 quantum manipulators gathered in a circle around a model of Earth. Every person who had shown even a slight ability had been brought to the facility. They ranged from decorated soldiers to teenagers who had just discovered their gifts. Nathan addressed them, his voice solemn. "Focus on protection. Imagine Earth surrounded by an unbreakable shield. Don't try to reach out to the planet killer. Just concentrate on making our world safe." In the center of the circle, Ryan and Zoe stood with their hands joined. They had proven to be the strongest conduits for quantum energy and would serve as the focal point for everyone's efforts. Allison watched from the monitoring station with President Chen. "If this works," she said quietly, "it changes everything. The hegemony will never be able to threaten us again." "And if it doesn't work?" the president asked. Allison didn't answer. The synchronization began slowly. Each manipulator closed their eyes, focusing on the image of Earth surrounded by a protective field. At first, nothing seemed to happen. Then a soft glow appeared around Ryan and Zoe, spreading outward to encompass the others. Nathan watched his instruments with growing amazement. The quantum field is stabilizing. They're not tearing reality. They are reorganizing it. The glow grew brighter, and satellites in orbit began sending images of a shimmering field becoming visible around the planet. It looked like the northern lights wrapped around the entire Earth. In the circle, Ryan and Zoe opened their eyes, which now shone with an inner light. Their minds had connected not just with each other and the team, but with the quantum field itself. "I can feel it," Zoe whispered. "I can feel the planet killer approaching." "I can feel beyond that," Ryan said in wonder. "I can sense the hegemony homeworlds, all their planets, their ships, their people." Around them, other manipulators murmured in agreement. Their combined consciousness had expanded far beyond what anyone had thought possible. Nathan's instruments went wild. "Something's happening," The quantum field is extending outward far beyond Earth. It's reaching across the entire solar system, beyond. In the center of the circle, Ryan and Zoe looked at each other with a new understanding dawning in their glowing eyes. "We don't just have to protect Earth," Zoe said. "We can end this," Ryan finished, "once and for all." The control room was silent except for the soft beeping of monitors. On screens around the room, live feeds showed the shimmering barrier now visible around Earth from space. The planet-killer weapon had stopped its approach, frozen in space by forces it couldn't overcome. But Ryan, Zoe, and the other manipulators weren't focused on the immediate threat anymore. Their minds, linked together through the quantum field, reached across the stars to the heart of the hegemony itself. "We can see all their worlds," Zoe said, her voice distant as if she were speaking from far away. 12 major planets, hundreds of colonies. "And their people," Ryan added. "Billions of them, going about their lives, most never thinking about what their leaders do to other species." Allison stepped closer to them. "Can you communicate with them? Send a message." Ryan nodded slowly. "We can do more than that. We can show them." Nathan's instruments continue to record unprecedented quantum field activity. Whatever they're doing, it's affecting reality on a massive scale. But it's not destructive. It's more like they're opening channels between quantum states. "Translation, please," President Chen asked. "They're creating connections," Nathan explained, his eyes wide with wonder. "Like quantum tunnels between Earth and the hegemony worlds." On the main view screen, a new image appeared. It showed an alien city on the hegemony homeworld, filled with insect-like beings moving among towering structures. Suddenly, every surface in the city began displaying the same image: scenes of the Proxima colony being destroyed, the moon base attack, and other atrocities committed against humans. Similar scenes played out across all hegemony worlds simultaneously. Their communications networks, control systems, and public interfaces all carried the same message: the truth of what their leaders had done in their name. Then Allison's face appeared on every screen throughout the hegemony empire. The quantum manipulators had chosen her as humanity's voice. "People of the hegemony," she began, her words translated perfectly into the clicking language of the aliens. "We are humanity. For years, your leaders have told you we are dangerous, primitive, unworthy. They have tried to contain us, control us, and when that failed, destroy us." Images of human achievements, culture, and daily life played alongside her words. "We tried peace. We tried cooperation. We tried to play by your rules. But now, humanity has had enough." The screens then showed the quantum manipulators, glowing with energy as they stood in their circle on Earth. "We have discovered something within ourselves, a power your species does not possess. We could use it to destroy you as you tried to destroy us." The screens showed a demonstration of their abilities: Ryan turning a small moon briefly into water before restoring it, Zoe creating and destroying a small star with a thought, Jeff freezing time across an entire hegemony military base. "But that is not our way," Allison continued. "Instead, we offer one choice: peace or consequence. Withdraw all forces from human space immediately. End all aggression against Earth and its colonies. Acknowledge our right to exist freely." Her face filled the screens again, stern and resolute. "You have 1 hour to answer. After that, we will take your silence as refusal." In the hegemony Supreme Council chamber, the ruling members watched in stunned silence. For 50,000 years, they had dominated the galaxy, bending or eliminating any species that showed potential to challenge them. "They're bluffing," one council member clicked. "No species could have this much power." The supreme leader, older and wiser than the others, watched as a glass of water on his desk briefly turned to diamond and back again, a small, pointed demonstration aimed just at him. "No," he said quietly. "They are not bluffing. Send the order to withdraw all forces immediately. Prepare the armistice documents." He looked at the image of Allison still displayed on their main screen. "We have ruled too long without challenge. Perhaps the universe has found its way to balance the scales." Back on Earth, Ryan looked at Zoe, both still glowing with quantum energy. "They're withdrawing," he said. "We did it." But Nathan's worried expression hadn't changed. "Yes," he said, looking at his readings of reality itself beginning to warp and bend under the strain. "But at what cost?" 6 months after the hegemony's retreat, people across Earth celebrated their new freedom. The alien empire had withdrawn all forces from human space and signed treaties recognizing Earth's independence. For the first time in generations, humanity looked to the stars without fear. But in the observation room of Project Awakening, Nathan Garcia watched his screens with growing dread. The quantum fractures had spread throughout the solar system and beyond. Reality itself was becoming unstable. "It's happening again," he said as Allison entered the room. "Look." On the main screen, a star near Alpha Centauri blinked out of existence for 3 seconds before reappearing. In another sector, gravity had reversed on a small moon, sending its surface features floating into space. "How bad is it?" Allison asked. "Worse than I feared." Nathan pulled up a 3-dimensional map showing red fracture lines spreading like cracks in glass. "The universe is coming apart at the seams. Our use of quantum manipulation damaged the fundamental structure of reality." "Can we fix it?" Allison's voice was quiet. "Maybe." Nathan hesitated. "I've been working with Ryan and Zoe on a theory. If the manipulators can damage reality, perhaps they can repair it too. But it would require all of them, focused completely on healing rather than changing. And," he paused, "they would need to form a permanent connection to the quantum field, essentially becoming part of it forever." Allison understood what he wasn't saying. They would have to sacrifice themselves. Nathan nodded sadly. "I've run every simulation. There's no other way." 2 days later, in a solemn ceremony broadcast worldwide, the 200 quantum manipulators gathered one final time. President Chen addressed the world, explaining what was happening and what needed to be done. "These brave men and women have agreed to make the ultimate sacrifice," she said. "They will use their abilities one last time to repair the damage to our universe. We owe them everything." In the center of the circle, Ryan and Zoe stood hand in hand. Around them, the other manipulators linked hands, forming an unbroken chain. They had all volunteered without hesitation when they learned what was at stake. "Are you ready?" Ryan asked Zoe, looking into her eyes. She smiled sadly. "I was born for this moment." "We all were." Nathan gave the signal, and the manipulators began to focus. This time, instead of changing reality, they concentrated on healing it, finding the fractures, and mending them with their consciousness. A soft blue light emerged from the circle, different from the bright glow of their previous efforts. It spread outward gently, like ripples in a pond. As it touched the quantum fractures, they began to close. On screens around the world, people watched as strange phenomena ceased. Stars stopped flickering. Gravity normalized. The laws of physics reasserted themselves. In the circle, the manipulators began to fade, becoming transparent as their physical forms merged with the quantum field itself. There were no screams, no signs of pain, only peaceful acceptance as they transformed. "I can feel it working," Zoe whispered as her body became translucent. "We're becoming the foundation, the structure that will hold everything together." Ryan squeezed her hand, now barely solid. "We'll still be conscious, still be watching. Part of everything. Forever." As the last of the manipulators faded from physical existence, Nathan's instruments showed the quantum field stabilizing across the entire observable universe. The fractures were healing, reality strengthening. 1 month later, a memorial was unveiled in Geneva. 200 statues, one for each manipulator, arranged in a circle. In the center stood larger figures of Ryan and Zoe, their hands reaching toward the sky. Allison stood before it, looking up at the faces of people she had known and led. "They're still out there," she said to Nathan, who stood beside her. "I can feel them sometimes, watching over us." Nathan nodded. "The hegemony feels it too. Their ambassadors tell me they've become more cautious, more respectful of all species. They know we're being protected." Above them, the stars shone steadily in a healed sky. And in the quantum field that connected all things, the consciousness of 200 humans continued their eternal watch, guardians of a universe forever changed by the moment humanity had finally had enough.